And welcome everybody to the Crochet Crowd live here on YouTube. We've not done a YouTube live, I don't know how many years. So we're just going to give it a try today and see how it's going to work out. And yeah, so we're just kind of working my way through a project. I'm just kind of rediscovering knitting a little bit. So I am working through a project and I'm going to a live crafting show next weekend, and I'm taking a series of knitting courses from real people. So I'm just working my way through getting more comfortable with knitting itself. So I'm just sitting here. If you want to talk to me, you can. What's on your mind? I'm not an expert by any stretch when it comes to this. And so we're just going to take off my headset so I can hear myself in real time. And yeah, so you can talk to me. I can see what you're saying. So we've got Michelle, and we've got Richard and Marissa. So the difference, I think, with YouTube versus Facebook is that it's hard with all the names. So we have Donna, we have Kathy, and welcome. So I have not done a YouTube chat in a long time, primarily because anybody can join the chat. So I find I get harassed on YouTube. So I'm just going to give it a try today. And yeah, so welcome, and we'll see how this platform goes today. And so if you want to chat and say where you're from, are you a crocheter or are you a knitter? Maybe you're neither. You're just hanging out today, you're more than welcome. So just grab a little project to work through and chit chat, and just kind of follow along with the conversation. So yeah, so I am working through a concept that I did before the Crochet Crowd, and my mom taught me how to purl and knit as a kid, and I knew that if you use them both together that you end up with this flat knitting look. It's called the stocking knit stitch, but I didn't know that then. And so I did the whole scarf with that, and then it all rolled in like a scroll, and I realized, I'm like, well, I didn't realize, I realized years later why it was doing that. So what I'm doing is that I'm recreating the scarf in a real format. So I'm using Red Heart Unforgettable yarn, and I'm finding with myself it's kind of a slow process. Or anybody that's knit, anybody have any advice that you would have for somebody like me, as far as like a new knitter? So I know this is a crochet channel, so let me just zoom this up a little more so I can actually read what you're saying. And so what is some good advice that you would tell somebody other than quit? So I think there's a opportunity here in some way, and just kind of working my way through. I want to try, after I'm done the scarf, stitch continental knit. So I found a guy in Europe called Norman, and so he has his own YouTube channel, and so I think I can follow along with him, and he teaches continental knitting, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, right? And so I don't know if there's an interest in the channel on knitting or not. I know that people threaten me and say, well, if this is a crochet channel, why are you showing the dark side of the force? It's yarn related in many ways, and it's still creative in my point of view. So my advice for knitters is to learn to crochet. That's somebody saying that. So we have Hannah from Poland in the house today as well. So lots of comments. So I kind of want to just do my thing. I get tired of crochet, if you can imagine. I run the Crochet Crowd. So this allows me to still enjoy the yarn arts, but also open my mind to learning new things. So I find that when I kind of get into a rut, I've done jewelry making and beading and all that kind of stuff when I've been in ruts before. So my little rut that I'm having right now, I'm turning to knitting. So yeah, so we're kind of working my way through this stuff, and I'm trying to navigate the YouTube presence. So the way that YouTube is working today is still the same as it always has been, but what's really changed is the population, in the sense that the way that people want to learn. So people have the attention span that is very short. So I'm trying to learn to simplify the tutorials down much more narrow in scope, sticking to the point, and just get off the video as fast as possible. So for me, it's a bit of a struggle. I'm almost 50 years old. So I like to take my time to learn something, but today's generation that's coming out of the young generation is that their attention spans are so sad. Yeah. So yesterday I posted some mocking videos of me kind of trying to learn how to knit and how slow it is. So I haven't hit that moment yet with the knitting. It's like, oh yeah, I got to keep doing this forever and ever. Amen. So I just working my way through the concept of just trying to find where that joy is going to be. So I'm hoping that the yarn show in PI, the Fiber Festival in PI, is going to kind of break that barrier down for me. So I have a few people that I'm going to be learning from. You need to learn overlay mosaic crochet. So, okay, so here's overlay. Okay, so I understand what you're saying about the overlay mosaic crochet. And the reason I cannot do it, and the reason why I can't do it, my brain just does not work in three-dimensional issues. So, for example, I used to be a dispatcher for a trucking company, and I cannot seem to manage more than one truck at one time in my brain, and yet a dispatch has many trucks. I can't visualize where the truck needs to go and what time it's going to finish and reschedule a load. And so with the mosaic overlay that you're talking about is that you have to be able to visualize and think ahead to make sure it comes out right. And I lack that ability to do that. So I can't even teach it because I can't visualize it in order to do it. So I'm kind of disappointed in that, but I have to stick with what I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I cannot learn that way, but it's my brain. It just is not wired that way. And I think you have to understand that people have limitations, right? So, yeah. So to prevent the curling, you have to do 4 or 5 Hoosier. Yes. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I think I looked it up and it's called the garter edge. So I think that's what you're referring to there. So Lynn is saying that Marley Bird has tutorials as well. So I keep getting hounded by people that I need to learn to continental knit. So I think my goal is just if I'm gonna do something, and I don't have to teach people how to do this. Like I'm not really interested in that element to it. I'm more interested in myself to be able to teach, or sorry, not teach, but to actually knit my own hat. I just want to knit a hat. And it sounds like the most dumbest goal, but it's my goal, and that's what I want to do. So I'm just doing a basic scarf right now just to get my hands in the motion without having to think twice about it, but I haven't got there yet, right? Yeah. So thank you to everybody that do appreciate the tutorials. I actually work on YouTube primarily most of my day. I don't actually work on YouTube. My team does that. So so I'm on YouTube a lot, answering comments. I can't get to everybody because there's too many, but I try to keep the channel moving and the content free as much as possible, and always something, right? So I don't know. So so I do appreciate that. So I kind of like go over on Facebook and I kind of give lectures on how to use YouTube because I get a lot of lectures on the comments. I had a lady, I'm going to assume it was a lady. I had a person last week saying that I don't do a good job of maintaining the channel for diversity. There's not enough clothing and I don't have enough specialty stitches and I need to work on that. And you know what my response was going to be, but I just said, thank you so much for your insight. My comment I wanted to say to her is like, you know, why don't you take the time to learn how to read a pattern and not make it my problem that you're not able to do that. And I know some people have a mental issue that they can't read patterns and whatever, but to put that onto a host is kind of nuts. It's like, it just doesn't seem like it's a very fair thing because you got one person and then you got another and then another. But overall, the journey on YouTube was a lot better than it was in the past. Yeah. So Leslie's saying, well, you maybe create, I have actually said that to people, create your own channel and see how easy it is to deal with the negativity, you know. And it's, you know, what's so funny? I did that to somebody once, I think last year, and they said they never expected a real person to read the comment and they felt really bad and apologized. And I'm like, well, why in the hell are you leaving it on an open channel like that for everybody to see if you don't intend for somebody to read it? So I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, so I try to be diplomatic. My team says I'm pretty good at being diplomatic, but I think sometimes in my desk here, I'm like just raging. Yeah, but yeah. So I like I have my little rage moment behind the camera here, and then I will type in, "Thank you so much for the comment." Yeah. So you know, it's tough. It's tough living in a job where you're literally your life is almost an open book. So I've learned how to do that. So Joan says, "Can you say happy 60th to her birthday boy, John?" So that's taken care of. Um, so I think it's really difficult in the sense that YouTube has come a long way than it used to be. It used to be kind of a wild west of people being idiots. But what we've been able to do is through the tools of YouTube to be able to narrow down and siphon out those people pretty quickly when that happens. So keyboard warriors, as Michelle is commenting too. So we're able to do that a lot better than we used to. And that's because the tools have gotten better for YouTube as well. Yeah. So it's kind of hard. Like if you're having a rough day and somebody makes a really thoughtless comment, it's like, you know, it just wears on you. Like, oh. So I've almost actually quit several times on YouTube here throughout the years. I have not. We tried a live video back in, I want to say 2018. No, it was before we moved. So 2017, I think is when it was. And anyway, I went on live and I was just getting harassed by people. So what's changed since that moment is that I have keywords that if you enter those keywords, I will never see your comments. So, and they're everything from politics to religion to just negative hate words. And so anyway, so those kind of things. So that's kind of a tool that is optional now for creators, which was never around before. So I'm trying to allow myself to be a lot more casual. So I've always been scared to be casual on YouTube. I did write in the very beginning. I don't know how many people have been with me since the very beginning, but in the very beginning, I used to run opinion pieces on Big Brother when Big Brother was a brand new show. And people are like harassing me about that. But my channel, what people don't realize, was originally a trucking channel. It wasn't even a crochet channel. So I used to be a transport driver and I would talk about my journey and I would take videos of different locations that I was at and stuff. And so at the time, because there's no protection for the creators because it wasn't built into the system, it would be awful on the comments that I would get. A gay man should never be driving a truck. Well, let me tell you how many women and gay men there are in the trucking field. So anyway, so the channel was only all trucking. And what changed my life literally was a moment of watching Oprah. And so I was just kind of at my wit's end. And I had lost my crochet book that I have since I was a kid, and I still have it here today. And I lost it, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I didn't even know what YouTube was. So I just entered in the search engine, you know, learn to crochet. And so YouTube comes up. And so there's this woman teaching, and she's using the words like yarn over, and she's using words that I've never heard of before because my mom would, somebody just pulled in the driveway here. My mom would, I don't know if I need to get up for that. So my mom would never use words like that, right? She would say, just wrap the hook and stick your hook in the stitch and stuff. And so I could not understand this woman. And I thought, well, you know, if I taught it and somebody did not know how to know crochet and know the words, like how would you know what those are? So I decided, I was sitting there and I was watching Oprah when I was trying to find my book and going through this. And Oprah basically said that if you want to change in your life, you got to get off the couch and just do it. And I thought, well, you know what? And I got thinking, it was in my head, and I'm like, you know, if I was to teach crochet online, I would teach it from a real perspective. Somebody that's on a budget and with everyday yarn, because that's what I could afford. And I decided to teach it in my own language, and that's kind of how we started all that. And I think I need to put you on hold. There's somebody here. And just conversation is crochet, and I'll be back. Just 1 second. Yeah. I am so sorry about that. I couldn't ignore that one, unfortunately. Okay, so conversation. So I finally turned on the heat in the house today, at least on my level here. So it's a little bit warmer than I'm used to. Okay. Okay. Let me get this back into my hands and get talking again. So where were we on the conversation? Oh yeah. So anyway, so when I was in the very beginning of all this, so Oprah was talking about, making a change. And I thought, well, if I ever teach crochet, I would teach it differently. And her message is do it now, don't wait, just do it. And so I filmed 10 videos and on how to crochet, and that was the start of my journey. Now, people, when they finally discover me, say, oh my God, this guy is like, a lot of followers and stuff, but we did it slowly. So it wasn't like an overnight success thing. So it took a lot of time. So it took about 5 years to get established. So it's a very slow going process, right? So the turtle wins the race. Got to catch my breath. So that person was looking for Daniel. So yeah, so I have a few things that I have. I have two beginner knit tutorials, and then there's another beginner knit shawl that Yarn Inspirations just released. So I'm thinking about filming it just for helping people out. And yeah. So Estelle is working on a camel stitch blanket. I like the camel stitch a lot. Yeah. Moss stitch cardigan. So how many people here, by the way of a likes to crochet clothing? Let's see how many people. I'm not a crochet clothing kind of person, like as far as sweaters and stuff. And I think part of my hang up is my weight. So I just worry that by the time I finish a sweater is that I feel like I might outgrow the size. It's the fear of like making something too small. So I have this fear of failure based on my own lack of control because I'm an emotional eater. So I feel like if I'm going to invest the time, will I be able to wear it by the time I finish it? That's kind of my thing. So I like the blankets. I like the dishcloths. I like the home deck because my weight is not a factor for finishing those things. And does that sound selfish? I think that that's kind of why I don't ever do the clothing. Just yeah. Did you hang up? Did you hang up your play button? I did not. It's still in the box. Um, I just behind me. I don't want to put a hole in the wall, so behind me it's a half a wall of window. So the thing would be down where you see it, right there in the blank spot. But I never hung it up. But yeah. So we're kind of working my way through. So I have the rules of YouTube are going to be changing for Canadian creators coming soon, and there's a major change in the Canadian government standards for YouTube that is coming ahead to protect Canadians from over advertising it and being blasted with advertising. So YouTube is doing may have to adjust based on um, the government that what they decide. So this fall, there's possibly a mandate going down that will change the parameters for Canadian creators like us. And what it means is that every 8 to 10 minutes when you're watching a video, you can get interrupted to watch another commercial. And so what the Canadian government has decided is that Canadians are being over inundated with advertising, and including websites and all of that. And so they are putting down the hammer to limit the amount of advertising that a person will see online. And this is not just YouTube, it's across everything. So what it's going to do is it's going to cut down the amount of advertising that a Canadian sees. So instead of right now, we don't have you stop during a mid play of a video to watch a commercial. It's an option for me as a host to do that, but I've never applied that. And so if a creator has that, that means that all of those mid stops are gone if they are a Canadian, viewer. And so I see it. YouTube kind of wanted us to kind of like go after the government through writing letters to our officials to complain about it. But as a Canadian, I actually do appreciate not being bombarded with advertising all the time. So, so that's something that's possibly coming in the future. But the other requirement is that we have to follow the rules of the CRTC, which is the Canadian CRTC. It's the regulations of what we're allowed to watch on TV. So certain things we're not allowed to watch. For example, Hulu is blocked from Canada, so we can never see anything from Hulu, anything like that, because of the standards. So what's happened is that the YouTube videos will also fall under the standards. So if somebody, for example, is projecting hate and stuff, that will violate the standards, so a Canadian will never be able to see it. And this also applies to Facebook groups that are hate-based, that their whole purpose of the group is to hate things, if you know what I'm saying. And so basically, the Canadian government is putting down a ruling that those kind of groups are then blocked from the Facebook for a Canadian to actually see. So even if the Canadian now has joined a hate group, in a few months' time, that hate group will be invisible to that person. So anyways, so the hate thing is like the cultural hate and everything like that. So it's obvious, stuff like that. So that's going to be coming in the future. So am I worried about it? No, I don't have to worry about that because I don't ever talk about subjects like that. And so it's not something that I have to worry about, nor do I engage in that kind of behavior anyway. So I'm not even worried about it. Yeah. So most of our followers that we have are American. And then our second largest community is actually out in the UK and Australia. And then we have quite a substantial following from India and Turkey and Thailand and all those wonderful places. So I don't want to get involved in the politics. And I'm like, I just want to stick to crochet. So sometimes I get dragged into it on YouTube. As like people want me to discuss where my opinion is on a certain subject. I'm like, I don't have an opinion. Like I'm here to teach to crochet, and that's as far as I want to go. So yeah, so it's really tough. So the online world is getting tougher and tougher to be able to navigate and what you see and what you don't. Yeah. So, and I really don't like the word hate anyway. As somebody just alluded to, I like to use the word dislike. It sounds nicer. So yeah, so some people have left Facebook. I was getting threatened to join, not because I hadn't joined Parlor, and then I was being threatened that I hadn't joined True Social and all of that crap. I'm like, you know what? I have nothing to say on those things. I just want to talk about crochet. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a place and time for things. I don't want to talk politics, and I don't need to because my opinion honestly does not matter. So for me as a host, we're on several platforms. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube here, and Facebook as my priority because that's all I can manage. The more I've learned over the years, the more platforms that I join, the harder it becomes. Yeah. So yeah, so we're kind of working my way through that. So yeah, so I haven't done the Facebook or so the YouTube. I've been told by YouTube that I should think about trying it again and see if we do that. And so here I am. So Jackie says she has a rule of no talking about certain subjects. I do too. It depends if you're in my personal company and I kind of know who you are, then I'll talk freely about certain subjects. But online, I just feel like my opinion doesn't make a difference. So I have tried one TikTok live. I had like 5 people watching. I'm not doing a lot with TikTok, just kind of feeding it some random videos and stuff. I haven't found the secret of TikTok to be able to maintain a following on there. And I'm not really trying that hard either, to be honest with you. So anyway, there's always so many platforms and programs to choose. So I think my goal is to kind of continue to build YouTube and just kind of stick with it. You can jump out all over the place, but there's so many. We have like over 3,000 videos now. So to jump a platform is kind of hard to do when you have so much content right now. So Nancy Girl said that she doesn't see any ads. So I have that as well, Nancy. I have YouTube Premium, so I never see an ad on YouTube at all. And I finally just bought into it. It was like $10 a month or something. And I finally bought into it because I'm just like, I'm always on YouTube and I don't want to be disrupted when I'm trying to learn. Sometimes before I bought into it, and I've had it for years now, is that you're learning something, and I learned how to do programming and all of that that's required for the website through YouTube videos, and I just find like it stops me in the middle of the ad while I'm trying to learn, and I'm like, that ain't happening. So yeah. So our team does fantastic. So yeah, so the humor can be really different. I'm always going to humor is like what makes people laugh is using insults in some way. So some people either like the humor or they don't. And yeah. The other thing that's changed also for YouTube is that most of the YouTube followers now are on a phone and they're on a tablet format. So the idea that people are on a desktop anymore is actually getting slim to none. So anyway, we started switching the videos to vertical. Not everything is being switched to vertical. I filmed 2 videos today that are not vertical, but pretty much everything is being switched to vertical, and it's just a matter of keeping with the times. How about that? And so I've had some really upset people about that, but I think honestly we just want to keep with the times so that we don't become outdated. So if I'm not sitting here at my desk, I'm on my phone. And so when I watch the videos and stuff, it's easier if they're in vertical format. So some people are still back on the desktops and laptops and stuff, but most people are now switching over to a mobile device. Yeah. So our home here in Nova Scotia, we moved out here a few years ago, and Daniel's just coming online. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Hey, we're doing a YouTube live for the first time. Do you want to say hello? Just quickly? No. Here's Daniel. Just say quickly. He's working in the garden today.
Hey everyone.
Oh, you had somebody from the Valley Gardeners here.
What?
You had somebody from the Valley Gardeners here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she wanted to know what time the potluck was.
Oh.
She was about this tall, long hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I said I don't know. What time is it going to be? Just in case anybody else shows
It's
up.
12. It's 12 to 2.
She thinks it's from 4 to 6. And I said I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Nicole says she's feeling old school because of the. I'm a desktop girl myself, honestly. But the new generation is all much on a phone. You know, it's kind of funny when you're on an airplane and you see like the new generation is like right beside you, and they're flipping through their phone so quickly, right? So we're drinking. It's my afternoon break, Tim Hortons. And don't go on me. I can make my own tea, but it is my vice, and there's something in it that's really addictive, and it's just tea. It's steeped tea with 1 milk, 1 sugar. That's what I take with my tea. I have 2 teas a day. Yeah. So anyway, so with the vertical that you're talking about, it kind of sucks for the going to the television when they're vertical. So I'm not sure how to address that. The other thing is that the other platforms, TikTok requires the videos to be vertical. YouTube Shorts requires the videos to be vertical. Instagram requires the videos to be square. And so when you're thinking about all of these different platforms, it's hard to make videos in the different formats because of that. Mikey, do you watch small channels? I watch programming channels, like on how to program my like my computer and stuff like that, like Adobe Illustrator. And the reason why I don't watch other crochet channels is actually really such a simple thing that if I watch another crochet channel, what happens is that I'm so motivated by that person that I will start to duplicate what they're doing. So I have a personal policy that I stay off of other YouTube channels so that I'm not inspired by what that host is doing to be able to ride in on their little parade to kind of take traffic from them. And I know that sounds really stupid and maybe selfish, but I was doing that right in the very beginning, and I realized that I cannot be authentic if that's my goal to do that. Yeah. So I don't know, right? Okay, so is it possible for you to show us how to install the best way to prepare a graph the first time with bobbins? And so I have the C2C. I have like how to GraphGAN. Like there's a big video on how to GraphGAN with the corner to corner, and I show how to make the graph, and it gives suggestions if that's what you mean, and the bobbins. So maybe you just may have not seen that video. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So I think everybody has their own flavor, and I think that's one thing that people do when they decide that they want to get into this whole business is that they look at somebody like me and they're like, well, how can they kick his ass? And I'm like, you know what? The only way to kick my ass is to be yourself. And honestly, you're either likable or you're not. And there's another host out there that I stopped watching a long time ago, and she was forever giving people crap, like for the most mundane crap. And I'm like, does it really matter? Like somebody would make a sarcastic comment to her in the comments, and then she would fire one back, and I'm like, oh, is it even worth it? You don't even know that person. So yeah, so yeah. So somebody says, isn't it amazing what you've learned about all these programs? Platforms. I agree with that. Somebody made a mention to me the other day, like I do all the graphics. I do a lot of stuff here on my own. That's what kind of takes up my day. And I don't think I've actually taken a mental inventory of all the programs that I know and how to get around, but nothing replaces, it's right beside me, a whole pad of graph paper, because that's where the ideas come from, is right on there. So as much as you can have the programming um, um, and stuff, sometimes the good old pen and paper is the best way to do that. So yeah, so I kind of do that. So somebody says Hulu is blocked. Yeah, there's lots of things that we cannot see here in Canada. For example, there's some YouTube channels we cannot see. As somebody will post a link for a music video, and up here it will say this is blocked for Canadians, and it may be something but from Lady Gaga or whatever, and it's just a licensing issue. It's just a border thing. But anyway, I don't really care, honestly. Yeah. So thank you for the blanket designs. I have another one coming. This is that blanket. What's that one? The one behind me is, I've forgotten. Oh, the one behind me that you see there is the Christmas stitch along. And then I have another one that I have for March of next year that I'm working on. So I like the idea of just kind of pushing you a little bit, but not overwhelming you with different ideas. Yeah. How do you come up with the video ideas? I kind of just watch on YouTube and what you're commenting to. So I just kind of watch what you're looking at and just seeing. So I'm very much of a metrics statistical freak of nature. So I got my graphs, I got my charts. And so I kind of seeing what you're seeing and what you're commenting to. And then the amount of likes that you will like on a certain video. I'm like, well, you know what? If 100 people like this kind of thing, well, maybe 100 people would like if I just found something similar to it, but slightly different. So it's really regulated by what you're watching. So if you don't push like and you don't make comments, then I just assume that that's a video that was never of interest. So then I kind of move on, right? So the green and white project is the Christmas stitch along. It'll launch in November. So yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. So Jennifer is talking about her level of experience has excelled her in her skills. My personal legacy at the end of all of this, at the end of the day, is that I just want to see people just learn something and have that aha moment. For me, it's not about the fame, it's not about the money. It's all about just watching people empower each other through the creative arts, you know. So I think that's all you have at the end of the day. When you're dead and in the box, what can you say about your life, right? And I remember we went to the wake of somebody that overdosed on her pain medications by accident, and they had the whole funeral home all within her creative arts, from the crochet to the rug hooking. It was just beautiful, and the wake and stuff looked like an art gallery. And you know, we all remember her for that. You know, it was her creativity that she was a good person, but we remember her creativity the most. Well, at least I do. And so I think, you know, that's one thing that you can take to the bank, is that your creative spirit is really who you are. So my favorite Afghan that I designed is actually the study of the journey that was in the book. That was a really tough design. It took me 2 months to design that one. I kept frogging and changing my mind over and over and over. You know. Is there a way to crochet an easy pumpkin? Absolutely. We have several pumpkin videos. There's Yarn Inspirations just took one of my free designs, and the braided pumpkin is one of my designs from last year. It's fun. It's got a bit of texture to it, so if you like my texture blankets, you might actually like that. So Lisa says she didn't realize how advanced I was at crochet until I started watching you. Thanks for educating me on that. So it's kind of fun. Like, my goal is not to be the person that is doing Mandela work that is going to be, you know, whistling Dixie in the whole 9 yards. I'm still an everyday crafter, and that's where I want to be. I don't want to be elite. And there's so much more I could learn, but I'm comfortable, right? So the snowflake blanket will be coming out in November as well. Sorry, this green blanket is not the Christmas one. This is next March's baby blanket. What did I call it? 9 months to go, I think I called it. And this will be out in March. So I just designed this one. Sorry about that. Yeah. So Alda says, I don't know much. So I learned early on in the YouTube life is that you don't talk much about yourself in the videos. I find that there's some hosts out there that literally will just go on a side tangent about their doctor's appointment or something in a tutorial. I have the personal belief that if I'm going to run a tutorial, the topic and the only topic is the project itself. And so Daniel really schooled me hard in the very beginning. He goes, you got to stop talking about yourself and about the home life. And he says, people don't care about you. He said they care about the project that you're promising to teach, and your job is just to teach them. And it took a while to get that into my head. So you see that my video intros, the video intros are approximately about 1 minute to 1 minute, 10 seconds. And I find that as soon as I have to take a breath in the intro, I'm done, right? And so then I will retake it until I get it to that moment. So as much as the fan base care about me, the people that will find the videos may not know nothing about me, and they're not there to know anything about me. They're there just to learn the skill. And so my goal on YouTube is to keep it pure in that form. It's why you never see me doing interviews with anybody on YouTube. I just think that it's a platform that's sacred for educational purposes. And I think that's why people come back, you know. This one lady made a comment a couple days back, and she says, "Finally, a host that doesn't doesn't fill us with BS before you get started on the project." And I said, "I'm your no BS person." Yeah. So I do give glimpses once in a while on YouTube, and actually, if anything, you're getting more of a glimpse on the YouTube Shorts side of it, which is a new platform on YouTube that is new. So you get to see more of my personality there than you can see it on the tutorial work itself. Yeah. So I don't know about a great personality. I really struggle with people when people say that about me. So I don't take a compliment very well, if you haven't noticed. People will give me a compliment, or they will point me out for doing something like in a live thing, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. Yeah. So, like you always say, stop the chitter chatter and let's get at her. Absolutely. Benita Alexander, I've been a fan for years. For years, my husband was trying to figure out who you were. Yeah, apparently I spend lots of late evenings with women. So yeah. So, yeah. Just say thank. Yeah, I do. But some people insist that they have to say more than they need to. And I was like, oh my God, just like, let's move on. So Mikey, the ladies' man. So personally for me, and speaking only for me, is that I actually enjoy working with women more than I do working with men. I think women have such a powerful um, um, position and a role to play. And so one of the things that is important for me is that our women that even though I'm the head honcho here, that my entire team is made up of women. I just feel like for me personally, I can get along with women a lot better. I find women are very, very smart thinkers, and they're multitaskers in many ways. At least my team is. And I'm doing the wrong damn stitch again. So I just absolutely just love working with women. My first manager that I had when I was in high school was a woman, and I just thought she was the bee's knees, and her shit didn't stink. And she was such a great listener. She was empathetic. She's everything that I would want in a role model, and so she became my role model in my high school years. And so then she ended up getting moved out of her position, and a man got put into position, and he was such an asshole. And I'm like, oh my God, we've just gone from an empathetic woman that was listening to the staff's ideas and taking our ideas seriously and plating them and doing such great thing. And then we got this asshole that didn't think his shit stunk, and just literally bossing us around to the point where it was abusive. And I thought, oh my God. And so anyway, I became a believer in that moment that in my life, I want to work with women. It's just, and maybe I'm judging everything by one male experience, but I end up having male managers down the road. And every time there's a woman involved in a management role, I would excel. Like I was just wanting to be the best I could be, and to really just be a team player when a woman was in control. So I just think it's powerful. Yeah. So my biggest problem with YouTube is trying to work around it as far as defining the videos. So YouTube has two different things. I don't even know if I could do a screen share with this thing. So if you actually on our home channel and you like search something on our home channel, you will only see our videos. But if you're actually in the search engine for YouTube generally, then you'll see everybody under the sun. So if you really like a certain host and you just want to see their stuff, you go on their home channel and enter in something that you're looking for, and you'll only see their videos. Yeah. Yeah. So you were the only person who got me back into crochet. So why was I that person for you? What made it thing? So when is the next giveaway of yarn? We have stopped doing that. I know. And the reason why I stopped, hear me out, is that I got tired of people just bitching that they never won. And yet everything is always random. And the joy for me to give away yarn was literally ripped from my hands. And I was just like, why in the hell did I just do that? And so we had been giving away yarn for years. And I just finally had a moment. I'm like, so somebody was really, really upset, and they demanded that they have the prize. And even though they weren't selected, and I just thought my joy is being ruined by giving away yarn. And so I said, this is the end of it, and done. Yeah. So that's kind of where we are for the yarn giveaways. And I know my answer sucks, and I know that, one person changed, but it wasn't just one person. Every time we did a giveaway, we'd get people like that. And I think people really don't clearly understand what random means. So in order to avoid the drama and the personal negative feelings I was feeling, I just stopped doing it. So, and it was every time we did a giveaway, there was always one or two people. So I said, I'm done, So I just gonna stick with the tutorial work. And so we kind of stopped doing all of that giveaways for all of our challenges and stuff. Yeah. So I just think, why? Like, I don't want to feel like I'm letting down people, which was what was happening. So, yeah. So, yeah. So I think if something is stealing your joy, you have to either suck it up or you find a way around it. And for me, the way around it was just to stop doing it. So what I do though now is just random acts of kindness. So I may contact somebody and just say I'm going to send them something. So I do that. So don't contact me to ask me that, because then you'll take my joy on that too. Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. So and then Pam was kind of alluding to about not getting it done on time for the challenge thing. That was also the issue. So it's kind of funny, right? So I don't know. I find if I'm being challenged to get something done, it just kind of it gives me a goal. So I made your star baby blanket for my niece, and now she's now 16. Yeah. Okay, so the PJ Sebi is talking about free yarn. The yarn I get, some of it is given to me, so I get like the odd ball here and there, but just know that that's never free, right? And the reason for it is that there's nothing in life that's ever free. So if I get yarn here, it's because there's an expectation that you have to deliver on the content. So that's just be clear that that's not free yarn ever. People call it free yarn, but it's really not. So I would call free yarn if I was to give you yarn and I expected nothing in return. In my case, there is yarn given to me, but there's an expectation. So I never consider that as free yarn. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't know. Just kind of working my way through here. Have you ever made a crochet bag holder? A crochet bag holder. A crochet bag. What is a crochet bag holder? So a crochet bag holder. I don't even know what that is. Why am I drawing a blank to that? Yeah. So yeah. And one of the things that I also have learned is that you never judge somebody by their yarn collection size either, because some people have an addiction to buying yarn. It doesn't make them a better person than another person. Okay, a plastic bag for grocery stores. So I've never done that because plastic bags are banned where I live. You can't even give out plastic bags. It's all reusable bags only. You can't even buy a plastic bag. It's banned. So I don't even know the last time I saw a plastic bag. So I don't think I'll be designing anything like that because I don't have any bags. So we switched to using recycled bags years and years and years ago. Yeah. So I think that when did the plastic bag thing happen? It's at least been a couple of years. But then you had to buy your bags even at Walmart, like forever. So anyway, so then it just makes you want to just bring your own bags, and then realize also too, like if I'm at Michael's or whatever, so everything, all the bags now are paper bags, and you got to buy them if you're going to use them, and that includes for your groceries. So you're better off to bring in a box or reusable bags, right? So we can use trash bags, but the bags have to be blue and clear, and they also are blue that you can see through, and then they also have to be white, or sorry, clear, white or clear, like looking through glass. So Ziplocs are different. Like I'm talking like grocery bags, like, and bags for shopping. You cannot. It's banned. So transparent, that's the right answer. So your garbage has to be in transparent bags. So if you put anything in black bags, they will drive by. They won't even stop. So I don't even know why they sell them at the stores still, but and the reason for it is that if they see something in the transparent bag that is recyclable and stuff, they'll leave it on the curb. And then here where we live, there's also a compost program. So all your compost is in a separate bin. But Daniel and I have a compost on site here, so on the ground. So we just use that instead. Yeah, so it depends where you live, right? Like that's a neat thing about the internet, and makes it really difficult. What's okay for one area is not good for another. So I find that is the biggest struggle with working online. For example, if there's a yarn that's exclusive to the United States that we don't have access to up here because it's not shipped up here, that becomes a real problem with the online world. Is that people feel like uh, they're being ignored because they can't get something where they live. But we really never had that problem much until you realize you can see stuff online that you don't have access to, and it can't be shipped to where you live. So that's the hardest thing about this whole job is, and then you have the multi languages that you got to worry about. But I find the accessibility of the products that we use is always a question depending on where you live, right? So local to me, I have a Walmart, we have Michael's stores, and then we have two independent retailers for yarn where I live. I live in a very creative area though, so those yarn shops can survive without a problem. And a lot of Canadians knit and crochet. So our crochet, sorry, our yarn sections in our stores are actually quite large compared to the U.S. because Canadians just knit and crochet more, and also because our population is a lot less than the United States. So we're all kind of just gathered into same pockets of where we live. So there's a lot of areas of Canada that are completely just barren and empty, and there's nobody that actually lives there. So a lot of people live in the kind of the centers of places where we are. And so for myself, I ship a lot of stuff to my home because it's cheaper than to get in the car to go get gas, or like to buy gas and to go get it. So I do a lot of online shipping for myself, generally speaking. And for those that live in the city that have access to the stores, that's all great. But I think people forget that not everybody's in a city, right? Yeah. So Jennifer's talking about that's when you get a friend in the United States and you ship the yarn to them and then they ship it to you. You can always do that. Yeah. So what are your suggestions of starting a YouTube channel? My suggestion to starting a YouTube channel, if you're thinking about it, you need to jump now. One of the biggest issues that I find is that people think and think and think and think and think. And the longer you think, there's other people that will think and jump on. So if you're going to do a YouTube channel, just jump and be yourself. If you're going to be a different personality than what your real personality is, you're going to find that you're going to slip up on yourself and your real personality will slip through. So you got to be authentically you, right? If you're doing it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason, because it literally took us 5 years to get established. And I had a job, a full-time job, and trying to run this at the same time so that I could afford it. And then you got to think about the licenses for the music that you got to purchase. So, and the programming that you need in order to run it. There's a lot of expenses that people are just unaware of for a YouTube channel. So yeah. So the colorway that you're looking at here with Unforgettable is called, I thought it was called Forest, but it might not be. It's Rainforest. So anyway, the music that you hear within the video is music that I purchased, and I have to pay monthly on that. So yeah, so the music, so you can't, so you can try royalty free music, but if you go and research that online, you'll find that a lot of those free music companies will literally come after you, and then they take your money if you're ever making any money. So you're better off to buy a program, to buy into a license so that you have the rights, so that if anybody has a copyright, then you can do that right. So there's a lot of things there. So Mike, I just wanted to tell you that Hirschner's has dollar days today, so you can get them for $1 to $2. Hirschner's, where's Hirschner's based out of anyway? Is that Canadian or US? Or you can make your own music on the MIDI program. Yes, you can do that. I find the music is kind of fun to find. It just kind of sets the tone for the video itself. And Hirschner's is out of Wisconsin, they're saying. I actually met the people from Hirschner's behind the scenes, but I've forgotten where they were. What is the Afghan? So the green Afghan behind me is a baby Afghan for March. I'm thinking March. So I have another version that's been colored in baby colors with Karen 1 pound. And so I have not released any detail on it because I'm not done actually crocheting it, but it's a 9 round repeat though. So it repeats every 9 rounds. So I'm going to a craft show in Prince Edward Island next weekend for professional development. Usually I go to these shows and I'm a host or I'm a speaker or a demonstrator. And so I decided, I turned them down because I was scared about C19 at the time that they asked me back in January. We had not yet done a crochet cruise and I was really scared of doing the cruise. So anyway, I declined them. So I decided earlier this week that I'm going to attend the show as a guest, just a regular person. And so anyway, I signed myself up for a whole weekend of workshops for me. So starting Friday. So all my courses are, 3 courses are knitting. I'm taking some needle felting as well. And there's also a Prince Edward Island dance and music thing. And there's also a food festival there. So I really enjoy public speaking. I really did that. But I was in school. I was always so scared that I would shake myself to the ground, and it was awful. It was just I'd cry in front of people because it was so bad. And so in my early 20s, I joined a program called Business International. And anyway, it was called BNI. So every Tuesday I would have to go, and I had my own company at the time, and I'd represent my company, and I had no idea I was funny. And so anyway, and I have a sarcastic, dry humor. And so people would be in tears of laughter, and I only had a minute to speak. And I really got to the point where if I was talking about a certain product, you know, I put my own little spin to it and this and this and this. And people thought I was so funny. And I realized that the fear of speaking in public can be diverted if you're talking about something that you know something about. And how I understood that is in college, in my English class, we had to do a presentation. And the professor said to me, if you have any kind of thing that you're holding or you're pointing at a board or something, you're taking the eyes off you and directing it to the product. And so therefore you don't have to be nervous because they're not looking at you. They're looking at what you're demonstrating. And anyway, so I just thought it was the bee's knees, and it took the complete fear out of talking in public for me to do that. And so I really kind of like talking on the crochet cruises, but a lot of people are not aware that I swear like a sailor. And so they can get caught off guard because I just let myself be myself when I have a live audience. So I really let it go on the last cruise because it was February and we're in the middle of the C-19 thing, right? And cruising is still questionable whether it's safe or not. And so anyway, one of the people that were attending my workshop, anyway, he made a joke and he did a Zerbert onto my microphone. And anyway, I was just such in horrified shock, and that he did that. And I pulled the mic away immediately from me because we're in this time of like, fear. And I pulled the mic away from me. I said, "You effing spit on my mic." Anyway, the class just burst out in tears of laughter. And it's like, anyway, so we had to stop the whole thing and then get and get sanitization wipes to wipe off the microphone so I could continue. And it was just because, you're in the time of C-19 that it's kind of hard. And anyway, it was a funny moment, but it was like, oh my God, if anything, there was a timing of that it's too soon. That was a too soon moment. And, but those are the memories that you have that kind of make it fun in the end, right? So sometimes I get heckled when I'm in the classroom as well, and I can usually handle it. So I usually give it right back though. So if I get heckled, I tend to put somebody in their place in a fun kind of a way, as far as I think, right? So anyway, this one person was heckling me in class, kind of just, and I think she was just attention needy, right? And so she said something to me, and it was such a stupid thing. And I said, "Did you think of that all by yourself?" And I laughed, and then people laughed, and and it becomes to the point where it's fun to have that interaction, but obviously that when you need to be serious, you need to be serious. So I really enjoy that element of what we do, and I can really think on my feet really quickly when it comes to this stuff like that. I'm trying to knit. I'm left-handed, and it's hard to follow the videos and the pattern. So I have been told, Joan, I have been told that the left-hand videos for knitting, if the host is right-handed, do not work for lefties. So if you're saying you're having a hard time following and it's a left-handed video, you have to make sure the host is actually left-handed. Apparently a camera flip for a left-handed knitter does not work like it can for a crocheter. So I have not done any of my videos in the knit format in left-handed because I've been told that. And I verified that earlier this week with Marley Bird. She said it's the way that you hold your needles as a lefty is not the same. So she said a camera flip cannot be done. So you need to actually literally find a YouTube host that is left-handed. So that was something that I kind of learned. Yeah. So made my mom a snowflake blanket last Christmas while she was in the hospital. I made it twin size and it looked so beautiful on her bed. Everyone who saw it loved it. That's wonderful. Crochet really can bring so much joy. So I'm just practicing knitting, honestly. I'm going to a show that I'm going to learn to knit. So I want to at least look like I actually have held the needles for more than 2 minutes. So I'm just knitting myself a scarf to wear at the show. And they're going to say, "Did you knit that?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." What else do you know how to knit? Nothing. And then they're going to say, "Well, I knit the sweater." And I may say, "That's so nice for you." And they're going to say, "Well, did you ever make a sweater?" "No, but I've worn knit sweaters before." So I have to come up with these one-liners, right? So the Diamond Wave crochet afghan, that's a nice one too. So I have to come up with these one-liners for the show. Any other good one-liners I can do? So I am going to do continental knitting, but I started this using North American traditional or English knitting. So I want to finish the scarf before I really get into the Continental. I don't want to switch midway through. So so what else? Oh, and you know, I made a total ass of myself at another show. So anyways, so they decide that they're going to go around the room and ask what people are wearing for shawls. So they came to me. I wasn't wearing a shawl. And anyway, I was wearing a shirt from Walmart. And they said, well, Mikey, what are you wearing today? And I said, I'm wearing a nice dress shirt styled by George, which is, as you know, is the Walmart label. Anyway, there was not even an inch of a snicker in the room. I'm like, oh God. I just thought it was hilarious because, you know, what else am I going to say? I did get a lot of judging eyes though. I'm like, whatever. You don't have my bank account, so I'll shop where I want to shop. Thank you so much. Oh, I should have said the invisibility cloak. Now that would have been smart. See, Mandy should have been with me. She would have set me in my place. So yeah, so I love one-liners. I like some of the, I find with myself, I was wearing a shirt yesterday that says stop making sense. So I say that to my team. They'll say something so stupid to me. And the answer is so obvious and they know the answer. And I'm like, stop making sense. And anyway, it's such a joke with my team. So I end up getting a shirt that said stop making sense just for fun. Oh my God, I've been knitting the wrong way the whole way across. Okay, here's where the tears, insert tears here. And pray to God. Oh my God, I hate my life. I don't know why anybody likes knitting. Oh my God. See, this is what happens when I'm trying to think of one-liners. How are you liking the knitting? Well, I'm not liking it right now. Oh my God, if I lose a stitch now, I'm gonna be homicidal. Okay, one ringy dingy. Oh my God. Okay, I will look up. Oh my God. I will look up when I'm good and ready. Because right now I'm gonna scream. I gotta tell myself I love knitting. I love knitting. I love knitting. Why in the hell am I knitting? This would not happen with crochet. I would just frog it. I'm sweating. Does knitting make you want to feel like you want to choke the living crap out of something? Because it's looking pretty close to me. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's like brain surgery. Not that I know what that is, but it sounds good to me. My mother would say this is a mortal sin. This is a mortal sin. Oh my God. I don't say this very often. I just can't get it in. Okay. Shh. 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 Concentrate. Oh my God, I'm like losing every stitch. This is not relaxing. Try knitting, Michael. It's so easy. To be homicidal. Oh my God. Taking in reverse. Oh. Not much of a chat is losing it right now. Just bear with me. I lost some stitches and I'm knitting. I'm not even a smoker, but I'm thinking about cigarettes. Okay, it's not funny. Oh my God. Oh. Oh my God, I'm sweating. This is a nightmare. Oh. And now I'm gonna probably have holes in my scarf. And somebody at the show is gonna say, "Did you make that yourself?" And I'm like, I'm gonna look at it and say, "Yeah, I did." Oh my God. I've just learned a lesson. Never take out the whole needles all the way across. Imperfection gives personality, and it also gives people a reason to judge. I have to get my needle through these tiny little bitty holes. Is anybody asking why this guy isn't chatting? Just tell him that you're watching a man having a nervous breakdown on live. Well, that was hell. Second YouTube breakdown I watched today. It's kind of funny. So I'm hoping my stitches are on in the right order. Okay, so they come out the front. I'm just saying that to myself so I remember. Front. At the front. Front. Do you have a double-edged crochet? Double-edged crochet. I saw double-edged what? I didn't see what that was. Oh my goodness. I just got to get through this row. Make sure I can't tell with knitting how the loops are supposed to be on the needles until after I do it, and then I realize they were backwards. So that's something I have to study up on. Do you have a double knitting? I do not have double knitting, no. I can barely knit. How many stitches do I have? I don't know. Okay, I just made a mistake. So for those that are joining, watching me have a breakdown here, I'm just getting myself back on track. So give me a like for at least getting back on track. That deserves a like. So every row I'm purling, and I accidentally. Okay, this one I believe is backwards. Yeah, it is. I just got to get myself through this row and maybe I can breathe. So if I make a mistake, do one at a time instead of them all. That was my mistake. That's my lesson. So you learn through your lessons, right? But I'll find out pretty quickly if I'm screwing this up. So I'm purling all the way except for the last 5, which is what I screwed up on. Last 5, jump back. Well, there is a half hour of my time I'll never get back in my life. Well, we're gonna wing it, right? Half hour spent. A half hour well. It's probably well spent learning. I learned something. Is there a right side and wrong side to knitting too? Yes, there is. I've learned that already. So my issue is that my last row, I was doing all the right side on the wrong side. But now I know. So knitting explained, stab it, strangle it, and throw it off a cliff. Sounds about right to me. That'll be my next YouTube short. So what I have learned is that when I am knitting, I make a mention to myself on the pattern that I draw that the tail at the beginning of the project is either on the right or left. So if it's so if the tail is on the right side, when I'm on the right side of the project, I just write on the pattern that the tail is on the right side for right side. So if I ever lose my point, yeah. Yeah, just I do. One day I just saw your response. I just gotta switch back to my personal account. 1 second, my team member is looking for me. So if I think I'm missing stitches or anything, I think that last row is something to blame. I've forgotten how many stitches I started with though. The one on the wall is my Flora Afghan. There's a free pattern for that. There's also tutorials for those. It's called the Flora Afghan. And online, I have the miniature version, which is what those are. So the Afghan is originally a queen size blanket, but I did it in miniature format and made it into a wall hanging. So that's what you're looking at there. So how important is learning to knit for you? I want to know that I can actually do it without sounding like an idiot. That I've been saying for years that I don't really know how to knit because I haven't. I kind of want to stop that and just say, yeah, I know how to knit, but I prefer to crochet. Yeah. So the one hiding underneath the green. Oh, that's my temperature blanket. The bright one underneath the green is the temperature blanket that we have. We released that back in the end of August. So we're binge watching a new series on Netflix called Sandman. Has anybody seen that? Really fascinating show. It's a kind of mythical idea. Really interesting storylines. It's not what you would typically expect. Sometimes you'd wonder if you're even watching the same show on some of the episodes. Are really interesting. Um, so I have not finished watching the series, but and we were I thought it was going to be like a horror thing, and Daniel put it on. Like, I don't want to watch anything horror, and it's actually really, really fascinating. It's kind of really mythical if you're looking for something to watch. Every time I go to see my I get something taken care of every week. But anyways, the girls there, they talk about all the reality shows. So anyway, so that we were kind of got watching Selling Sunset. Has anybody seen that trash? Oh, I have seen all current ones, and now I guess they have the OC that's available. I don't even not even interested in watching it. But anyway, so we kind of. So how many people here are addicted to reality television? I kind of don't mind it, but then I kind of realize a lot of it is orchestrated drama that probably doesn't need to be there. So, and with the Selling Sunset, can you imagine working with people that act like that? And then I realized that they're probably just amping it up. I think one of the um, cast members of the show for Selling Sunset said it's just all amped up, and it's like, oh my god, it's just annoying as hell. So then these women are having fights at these people at these homes that they're trying to sell. I'm like, how unprofessional is that? And apparently it's a real firm. So Johnny Bravo, I don't know what that is. So I have not watched Schitt's Creek. I saw a few episodes right in the beginning. I heard it got good, but I never. I like humor that is more um, sarcastic and you don't see it coming at you. So I'm not a person that when I see a joke coming that I'm going to laugh when the joke lands because you see it's obviously coming. But I love a good joke where it like comes out of nowhere and you're not expecting it in any way. That's what makes me laugh. And usually very dry humor is what I love. I guess in my kind of humor, if anybody saw Sex in the City, the first movie, Samantha on there, she makes me laugh. Her one-liners that she has are almost unexpected, and that's the kind of humor that I like. Kind of like a little bit raunchy, unexpected, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah. Just 1 second. Hey, you okay? Sorry about that. Salty, our puppy, is having a little bit of a nightmare. Yeah. So I've seen Big Mouth. I'm kind of not a fan of that, but I don't mind it. But I'm not a. I like if I never saw another episode, I'd be okay with that. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's actually pretty funny. Danny DeVito is pretty funny in that one. So Nicole says that Schitt's Creek is going to be leaving Netflix. Why are they taking it off Netflix? To make it a classic, I'm sure. Currently rewatching Midsummer's Murders. I have not seen that. And Drag Race, I'm a Drag Race person, but I'm finding right now, and this is just my opinion, obviously, but I'm finding there's too much RuPaul on right now. So I'm just finishing up watching RuPaul Down Under, and um, I just finished watching RuPaul Canada's Drag Race. RuPaul just finished that, so it's amazing how every country the drag queens act slightly different. So I think they were hoping that the drag queens down under in Australia were going to be very catty, and I don't think that they are. They're very supportive of each other. And the Canadian RuPaul drag racers, I find the women are sorry, the drag queens are very they're very, very creative, costume wise as well as makeup. And then I find the ones in the US, they just want to fight. So so sometimes I was like, why are you trying to fight? Just, it's a competition. So it depends. So I don't know if I have my favorite drag queen at all, but I just like the creativity, especially when they have to make their own costumes. But then, they get all that trash bin and then they end up wearing a one piece of one item. I'm like, okay. I could never get into The Office either. There's something with the humor with that. I really couldn't get in there. So I haven't watched Queen. I haven't seen that one at all. I have not watched Echoes. I've watched the first season of Ozark. I can't determine in my brain whether Jason Bateman is actually cute or not. He just seems like he just got one of those faces where he's not ugly, but he's not cute. He's like right in between. Is that rude? So, and yet for a partner for me, I like a guy that's very basic looking, very, very ordinary. So he has a maybe face. Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know about anybody else about that. A maybe face. I am not watching She-Hulk. I am sorry. I am drawing the line at She-Hulk. Paint a woman green and put her in heels and call her She-Hulk. I am not watching She-Hulk. And if I decide to watch She-Hulk, you're never going to hear about it. I draw my limit at She-Hulk. Jason Bateman has super cute laugh lines. Huh. Maybe I'll have to look for laugh lines. The She-Hulk becomes a guilt pleasure. Oh, is She-Hulk actually funny? Oh, no, don't tell me that. Do you have your videos set to 18 plus? No, I do not. I don't think I need to. I think it's understood that I have double entendre for humor. But then I'm very cautious in the tutorials not to drop the language. It's very hard for me because I do like to swear. It's part of my language, but I have a hard time sometimes going through a whole afternoon of filming and not swearing. So I have to do it after the tape is done. I have accidentally left out an outtake once, and I'm like, pop, 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 pop. Anyway, so I'm like, whoops. So then I kind of like blow the mystery that if Mikey swears or not, I kind of gave it all away. So, it's like anything, like, yeah. So my last partner did not like to swear at all, so I had to get that out of my system. But then I met Daniel, and he's a swearer. So then it becomes part of my everyday language. And honestly, it's not, when we use it, we're not using it out of anger, which is very different. So there's a really fascinating series on Netflix called something about the swear words. Has anybody seen that? Really fascinating. The evolution of swear words or something. And anyway, it's interesting that they say that different cultures can get away with saying different words, where like they say that a gay man can call a woman a B word and it not be bad, because it's kind of meant in a different tone, where a straight man calling a woman a B word is a big deal. So I think it's all about tone and context. And so it was really quite fascinating. The F word is almost like an adjective for everything. Seems to go in every sentence very, very easily. So I don't even really hear it as a curse word, because it just is an adjective. I can't imagine me swearing. I'm so innocent. Please. Please. Yeah, so hooked on yarn says it can be a very versatile word. It can be everything. So I dropped it yesterday when I was trying to learn the continental knit. I'm like, shit. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, so it really does depend on how you use the words, for sure. It's all about context. So inherited switches can swear in multiple languages. My problem is that I don't know how to turn it off. So for example, I will have a meeting with Your Inspirations and we're talking, they'll say something, and I'm like, F, like in a shock. And anyway, I don't even think anything about it. Like, and then I realize afterward, when you see their faces, it's like, oops, we're on a conference call with corporate. Like, whoa. But you know, oh. So somebody says they love She-Hulk. Oh, I don't want to watch She-Hulk. That sigh said it all. I do that a lot. Oh, I actually do that when I actually am surfing through Facebook and I see a comment that is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, the yarn store is sold out of yarn. How can that be possible? I'm like, oh. And I will turn to Daniel and I said, this person doesn't realize we're in the middle of a pandemic. There is a supply chain issue. And we're now like 2 years in and there's no complaining. So I would like go, oh. Oh, if anybody see me with a glue gun, that's dangerous shit. It's I vowed I don't want to be using a glue gun to do that. So an easy thing to knit for a beginner would be to try a scarf or a dishcloth. We do have tutorials available for knitters that are there. It just shows up your intelligence when you cuss. I find, depending on me, like some people try to make the humor about the cuss word, where I like humor that's really raw, that is unpredictable, but doesn't have to necessarily have the language to back it up. So I find a really good comedian is somebody that knows how to use their verbs and not necessarily has to put the filler words in to make it funny. A good example of somebody like that would be, she's a woman, she's large. Monique, is it Monique? She swears like a sailor, but I find she swears so much that I don't find her funny. I find it's kind of hidden in the language. I don't know. I think it's Monique, right? And I bet she's a great person. I just find that there's so much language there, I just don't see the humor. What topics are off the table? Religion and politics. Hands down are always off the table. I will only talk about that stuff in person. I will not talk online about that stuff because it's just not worth it. I'm also Canadian, so I'm not impacted by some of the global political issues. So there's no point in me discussing any of that stuff. So those are off the table. How long are you going to make that scarf? Well, I think when I'm dead, I'll be finally done. I'm going to try to use the whole ball. And this ball is going so slow that I think it might be close to the end of my life by the time I get through it. Yeah. The Doctor Who length, I actually looked it up last week. It's 18 to 20 feet. That's enough to strangle a herd of elephants. Not that you want to strangle elephants, but I'm just saying it's kind of ridiculously long. So thank you about my teeth. I was so annoyed with YouTube when I started going through the procedure of wearing my Invisalign because it made me sound like I'm drunk because I was slurring my words. Some people said, "I can't believe you filmed drunk," and I'm like, "Can you believe that I have something in my mouth to straighten my teeth?" And anyway, I was really upset about that when that was happening. So that I started the whole process last June, a year ago June, and then I finished everything through. So I'm not wearing it right now. So I'm done. So I have a correction set coming to me, but I'm not wearing it during the day. People can just be really ridiculous. So I'm actually, one of the fears that I have is Doctor Who. I have this crazy fear of Doctor Who. And it's because when I was growing up, there was only 2 television channels where I lived because I lived in the middle of nowhere because crafting was our thing every night. Why do you think I'm crocheting? So anyway, the music for Doctor Who just absolutely just terrified me as a kid. So if you look up the introduction for Doctor Who in the 1980s, the music introduction, oh, and then the character that played Doctor Who was so creepy looking. And so anyway, just hearing the music sends chills down my spine. Ugh. Yeah, so that has a trigger for me for sure. What's the most unusual place you crocheted in? Most unusual place. I used to only crochet in bed when I lived in Ontario because we never had a TV room. I don't think I have a really unusual place. Yeah, I won't say anything wrong. It just is a trigger for me. It was the music and the robots and stuff. And as a kid, so I would have been probably 7 or 8 years old, and it was just terrifying. And then I remember when The Shining came out on TV. And so anyway, it was a big to do, and all the classmates are want to watch it. I think I'm in grade 4. And anyway, I think I got through a couple of minutes of that. And that's a trigger for me too. So I have never seen The Shining, all that. Yeah. So Diane's talking about the catamaran. I don't know what she's talking about. Diane, what are you talking about on the catamaran? Oh, Diane's talking. She crocheted on the catamaran. Yeah. I have not seen it. I'm not really a horror. I'm not a horror man. The only horror that I have in my life is hearing that a yarn store is sold out of yarn. That's horrifying. Yeah, I'm just not interested in horror movies. I like a good documentary. I watched a documentary yesterday or a couple days ago on the anthrax scare in the U.S. That was in 2001, which I never heard about until a couple days ago. I didn't even know it was a thing. So anyway, I was kind of watched the documentary on that. So The Shining, Alicia says that The Shining traumatized her. Yeah. So I'm thinking about my little maker business to the next level, was thinking about taking some classes. Well, you can take classes for that, obviously. Um, you got to make sure that whoever you take the class from is going to be honest with you. I find that there's some people that I was really disappointed. I took one class one time, and the person's biggest secret was to post photographs, lots of photographs. But what they never shared, because I wasn't really needing that workshop, I was just sitting in on it. And I'm like, they never shared that the person's popular because of her programming behind the scenes, and she never talked about that stuff. And so I thought it was kind of misleading. So you want to make sure if you're getting classes that at least the host that you will get is going to give it to you straight and give it to you everything that you need. So I find some of these hosts kind of keep some of the secrets to themselves, and so you'll never be successful when they do that. So that's something that I would do that. The kid catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I have never seen the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but I know what you're talking about with oh, Dick Van Dyke. Can you substitute worsted weight yarn for chunky? You can, depending on your project that you're working through. You got to make sure it's going to still stay sitting flat if you decide to do that, but you can do that, and you got to increase your hook size. I'm sorry, I meant like business classes for taxes to go through. So your maker business, I don't know if you really need that to shares, or I just call you slip side because I can enunciate it better. I don't know if you need to do that. If you get an accountant, let them worry about it and just pay the fee for the accountant. And therefore, you can concentrate on your maker business and not concentrate on being a financial person. I do all the budgeting every month for us, but I've learned how to do it over the years, but I learned on my own. There's always YouTube videos for something, but I rely on a lot of advice from our accountant. I have a bookkeeper and I have an accountant, so I have one of each to keep us on the straight and narrow and keep us legal. So my point being is that if you don't need to invest in classes like that, and you can probably learn stuff like that online, but I would recommend trying to find a good bookkeeper or um, an accountant, and therefore everything that you do is legal and stays legal. in my 20s, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that I had my own company and I was being given advice by a friend that wasn't legal, but I didn't know any better. And literally, I got an audit, and that audit finished me into bankruptcy. And so my point being is that you want to make sure that you have the right people that you want to stick close to, and that actually know the business. So I find for me, it's very, very difficult to be sitting here being creative, but also being the financial planner. So sometimes you just got to hire people or trust in people on their services. And so my accountant, I only talk to once a year. Pretty much everything gets done. And my bookkeeper, I talk to once a month. And then all the interim stuff that I know how to do, I just do on my own. So the bookkeeper will be cheaper. The bookkeeper also just double checks the the accountant double checks the bookkeeper to make sure everything stays legal. So I'm of the way that I run the business is everything is above table. So I don't do any side deals under the table. I've learned the hard way back many, many years ago. Not in this business, but in another one. And because that was just devastating. I literally had to drive my car to the dealership and drop it off at the front door because I literally lost everything. It was awful. So it was a dumb mistake, and it seemed right at the time. And if they ever come knocking on my door, I know that I have everything in check. So I think when you're young, you realize, oh yeah, you're invincible, but you really are truly not if you ever get questioned. But I think those lessons are important to learn. So I'm of the believer that sometimes that even the crappiest lessons you have to learn because you can't just go through life and just hope for the best. So apparently I got a lot done in the scarf. It feels like hell. So Elizabeth says, well, yeah, a lot of us have been through relationships like that. So I'm not married. Daniel and I are not married, just so that's above table. I don't believe in it. My opinion of marriage is kind of backwards to a lot of people. So I was married to a woman for 8 years before I came out of the closet. And my opinion of marriage is that at the end of that, the only person that won were the banks and the lawyers. And it was really rough. And I vowed to myself that I would never put myself back in that same position again, ever done. And so that's my opinion. So, and I feel to my point of view that I don't need to be married to Daniel in order to be loyal because I just know that I need to be loyal. That's just, it's in my blood. So I just don't feel like, so we thought about doing a little ceremony for ourselves, but nothing on paper, just like maybe have some friends and say, it's I think we're going to have 15 years coming up soon. But just have some friends and just say, hey, we're celebrating that we've been together for 15 years. And that's as good as it's going to get. So you don't ever see any jewelry or because I don't wear jewelry or anything, So I think I think marriage is important for some people, but I think it is overrated to a certain degree that you feel the pressure to be married in order to feel validated. In Canada, our relationship is considered equal to everybody else, so there's no reason for us to be married, other than just to say that we are. Yeah. So anyway, I think they're saying that today's generation, they're seeing more and more people not get married, and that's just the way that life is moving, right? So we do have common law. And for gay relationships, you have to be longer than just a year. You have to be, I think, 3 years before you can own a car together. And you have to be able to prove that. So Daniel and I, we have a joint cars and stuff. So, but we have the years to prove that as well. So there's certain rules that in a gay relationship that you have to prove. And but we don't have any issues as far as insurance or banking or anything because of our relationship. It's not a factor. Yeah. So marriage is important if you have kids. So I don't have kids, so that's probably why it's not important for me. So my wife, so I met my wife when I was 17, and so I started college when I was 16. Sorry, when I was 17, and then I graduated college when I was 18. So I was not even allowed in the college bars because you can't drink until you're 19 here. So I was not allowed in the college bars at all. So anyway, so my wife indicated to me that we would be a childless couple, and so she says you need to make up your mind whether I'm going to hang with her or be done. And so I made the decision when I was 17 that I was going to be a person without children, and I stuck with it, and it became just part of who I became. So it was just one of those moments in your life. My mom was kind of upset because she realized that she'll never have grandchildren. And yes, we could have adopted, but the cost to adopt is just not something that we could have afforded. And so I'm glad that we didn't, because my life has changed several times between then and now. And so I'm kind of glad that it didn't, and I've had a good life otherwise. My mom kind of always said, well, you kind of have children so they come and visit you in the home when you get older, but I don't think that exists. You can still be having children and still be lonely in the home. So having kids was not a priority for me at all. And I'm actually in this job. I don't know if I could ever raise kids. So I've been doing this job since 2008. I don't think I could have ever raised kids doing this job for sure. It just takes a lot out of me. So yeah, so everybody has a kind of a different role model. I do hate the idea that people are forced to feel like they're getting married or forced to have kids. I absolutely just despise that, especially in today's society when how much kids cost. I don't think people, and somebody just said that hooked on yarn, hook that yarn. She's kind of alluding to, I don't think honestly people have the indication on how much kids cost in order to raise the kid and to give them a good life, and how much you have to sacrifice. And I think that surprises a lot of people. So Kim says 65 and single, no kids, no regrets. I'm going to feel the same way for sure. Yeah. So yeah. And so my parents came around. But I have to say that because I don't have kids, I don't have a need to talk to my parents that often, because there's nothing to talk to them much about, because we don't have kids to force us to visit and stuff like that. In the back frame is the Flora Afghan. It's a free pattern available on our website, the Flora Afghan. What is my favorite dessert or cake? I like apple pie. Apple pie with, apple pie for sure, but on a cruise when I'm away, I like Black Forest cake. So I only have that when I'm away from home. Black Forest cake. Daniel doesn't like it, so it's not something that we buy here. So I'm just working on just a practice scarf, Jamie, in order to just do practice getting more comfortable with knitting needles instead of freaking out when I look at them. So we adopted 3 of our darlings. Nana's saying we did not want them. See, and that's admirable. Somebody asked me to do that once, and I couldn't do it because I made the choice that I was not going to be, I was going to be a childless person. And so somebody asked me to take their child, and I couldn't do it. Their child went somewhere else, but I just couldn't do it. It's just because I kind of made up my mind that I was going to be childless. And I know that sounds so selfish, but I would prefer they go somewhere else where I know they'll have a better home because I'm just not prepared to take care of kids. I think you have to have a mental mindset to do that. And I think raising a kid in today's society, you got to be a superhero to do that, honestly. I don't think I have that in me. And there's a girl that I know right now, she's debating whether having kids, and she says, I don't know if I'd be a good parent. And I said, you need to honestly make sure that you're truly committed before you even make that decision, because you may realize you have a kid and you're still realize that you're not going to be a good parent. So just because you're having a child doesn't mean you're going to be a good parent. So I said, you got to be honest with yourself. So are you going to do more cruises? We've canceled the crochet cruises. I decided back before the pandemic to eliminate the crochet cruises as part of our programming. I kind of got tired of it, honestly. And so we changed it to travel with the boys. So we're traveling as a crochet group if you're interested, but without me having to purchase the yarn. And the reason for it as well is that the shipping of the yarn became a really big to do. You have no idea what we have to go through in order to get yarn shipped to a ship. And so I thought, you know what, why not just do crochet? You bring your own yarn, and therefore we don't have to worry about all of the cost of buying yarn, shipping it to the ship, and the amount of cost it takes to do that. And so we eliminated that so that it would give us a bit of a mental break, because we have almost left the cruise terminal with our stuff not on board because the trucking company forgot about us. And that is so incredibly stressful that I said, I'm done. And yeah. So anyway, so I wanted to do that for my own sanity, just to kind of say we're done. So we have travel with the boys, so you can travel with us as a group. We have a mystery trip coming up next April in the United States. It's a mystery trip. You don't know exactly where we're going. I don't even know where we're going. So I've been kept in the dark, and so I want to be surprised. So a week before the mystery, our agent will contact everybody with their airline tickets to what airport they are flying to from their airport, and then they're going to arrive at the hotel at the airport, and we're all going to stay. And then the next day, that we all go together to wherever we're supposed to go. So I won't actually know anything until we literally are arriving at the location. So we had one lady message me, and she goes, I really need to know where to go because I don't know if my medications can handle where I'm going to go. I'm like, sweetie, I said, nobody knows where we're going to go. Like, there's no point doing a mystery if somebody knows where we're going to go. So only Daniel and our agent know they selected the place. So it's kind of interesting. Daniel kind of wants to do that reality show where you show up and everybody doesn't know where they're going until they actually get there. So Daniel kind of wants to see if that can be possible. So it might be the only time we ever do it, but we just wanted to try it. And then I am doing a crochet event in Australia to New Zealand. So we're doing a cruise with crocheters. That's coming up in February out of Sydney, Australia. So that's going to be happening as well. So we don't have a lot of people for that, but it's not the size of the group that matters. It's the quality of the people. So anyway, so I want to go to Australia just to say that I did that. So mosaic crocheting alongs, I don't know if any in the plan, but that doesn't mean that we can't do it. So this will be a tutorial in the future. I want to get it done. I actually want to wear this next week. So I'm just getting there. I just turned on the heat of the house too. So it's cooling down up here in Nova Scotia. I told Daniel this morning, I said, it turned on the heat, and he's like, yeah. So we are going to Europe. We are. Oh, do you have travels going to Europe? Yes, we do. We have it just. We just put it out last week. Travel with the boys. It's on our website. We're going to start off in Barcelona, Spain, and then we're going to end up in Portugal on board. Uh, I'm drawing a blank. We're going to be on a cruise ship, just a small vessel. Amazara, no, Azamara Cruise Lines, which is part of Celebrity Cruise Lines. And one thing that people don't realize is that that particular cruise, because it's related to celebrity, your celebrity points and your level on celebrity goes with you to that particular ship with you. So you can still collect your celebrity points. So I didn't know that until last week. So we're doing that. So that was kind of one thing. Yeah. I have realized over the years too, like people want us to go here, there, and everywhere. I wanted to kind of just start traveling and just actually seeing the world without the restriction of where we can send the yarn in advance. So I wanted to have the opportunity to be able to travel without having to buy and ship yarn. We were thinking about an Australian cruise with doing that, but then to send a container to Australia with all of our stuff was exceptionally expensive, and we just couldn't make it happen. It just was unaffordable. So if you're looking for information on the Barcelona trip, we posted that last week. It's on our website with Travel with the Boys. In the main menu, you'll see that as an option. And the ship only holds 700 people, so it's a small ship. So we get a lot of requests for people wanting us to do store visits and stuff. Those kind of things are just not something that we can plan. And then the hotel costs, the meals, the airline tickets are all on me to pay for. So a quick visit, even if we did a hotel somewhere, you have to pay for the rent. So one thing that we like about our events is that they're usually a week long. So they make it worthwhile for those that are going to travel, and including ourselves, to be able to jump a plane and actually spend more than just a day to where we need to go. So Wendy's asking, I did fix my mistake and I can't see it in the pattern, which is good. Have you heard of the Michigan Fiber Festival? I think I have. I think I have heard of that. I got asked to go to many festivals this year. I have declined everything this year. I wasn't feeling safe when I was getting asked to be able to travel, so I declined everything. And so my festival that I'm going to next week is I'm just going as a guest. I'm not going as a host because when they wanted me to make a decision, I was just too scared to travel. So I'm still here. So what yarn am I using? I'm using Red Heart Unforgettable. And they are Knitter's Pride needles. I bought them when I was in Ontario. I started wanting to learn to knit in 2017, so I bought all this stuff. And so I had kind of have it tucked away in a drawer. So I went out this morning. And I bought some more knitting needles for my course that I'm taking next week. I bought the same needles so that I can just jump classes and keep my project on the needles. So what are my favorite brands? I don't know if I have a favorite brand yet because I'm so new at it. I don't really know. I prefer the circular knitting needles though. That I do know. So double points working in the rounds. So I think I like that I'm not banging the needles off the tables. So I don't know. So do you think we should do this YouTube chat another time, or how are you feeling about it? I know I've been yapping. off topics and stuff, but yeah, I kind of can get yappy off topic and listen to Diane. So Diane Carlton that you see there is one of my personal friends. I have a small circle of friends, and anyway, Diane Carlton's one of my favorites. But don't tell anybody else that I said that. So Diane said that she was crocheting on a catamaran, and I was kind of right beside her as she's crocheting. I'm like, okay. She's a great woman to sit there and just yap about silly things and important things and meaningful things. And so, I don't know, you know, these people come, and it's funny, the closest people that are to me are like the farthest away. She lives in Arizona and I live up here in Nova Scotia. So the next live will feature me with a glue gun. I do have to glue something, but I'm not sure I should do it live. Okay, hang on one second. Wendy's getting a hold of me. She just went. I got your message there, Wendy. I see. Interesting. So if you're looking, if you're here on Facebook or YouTube, Wendy's just reminded me, we actually have a private Facebook group on Facebook. It's called the Crochet Crowd Stitch Social. If you're ever looking for real-time conversation, that is a great spot. All of the comments are moderated though, so our team, I don't do it, but my team reads every comment before it goes live on the main comments itself to make sure that it's appropriate. Sometimes things get rejected because they're off topic or they're going in a place that we don't want the group to go into, such as politics and religion and all that stuff. So if you're looking for a group to do that with, and you'll find us on Facebook, the Crochet Crowd Stitch Social, just a casual group. It's very, very active. In a week's period, there's about 100,000 interactions. There's a lot of conversations, likes and stuff. And I guess my message that I would leave for you is that there's some people that go on there and say, oh, nobody likes my stuff. And then we go and look at the activity of that person that's complaining about that. And you realize that they don't click like to other people's stuff or make comments. So I feel like a community is a two-way street. If you're going to complain about something, that you got to make sure that you're also part of the solution to be able to put in the time and the activity to enrich other people and to do that, right? So you can't just sit there and you know, shower you with likes if you're not going to participate that, right? So I think it's important that you do that. And honestly, there's some people that are just hanging off by a thread. Their lives are miserable, and you know, just a like or a positive comment can really send somebody into a great day. And I think people really have kind of lost the ability to kind of see that once in a while. We've had some people commit suicide over the years. That's been a part of our community. And, you know, maybe we could have made a difference by just, you know, giving them a positive comment once in a while and etc. So I don't take blame for them if the people do that and do that. So yeah, so the group is heavily monitored as far as the activity. Jennifer's talking about that. So sometimes those pattern questions can kind of get dicey for that. So I don't do it myself, so I can't take responsibility for that, but they have their own criteria and what they follow. So yeah. So originally we had a crochet crowd group many years ago, and anyway, it got taken offline because it just got to the point where it was too hard to maintain. So anyway, Jeannie came along in our lives and she said, I'll start a new group, but it's under her watch that we do that with. And so her and Wendy control the group. So that's not something that I get involved in. So I don't even read the comments. As far as like the new comments coming in, they do it all because they remember stuff. So I do go in and visit and see the comments after they've been posted, but I don't get involved in the moderation. Okay, this is going to be a friggin' problem. So my yarn has got to cut in it right where I don't want it to be. What am I going to do? Okay. I can't let that go because then the cut on the other side is wrong. So I don't get mad when there's a cut in the yarn like that. I just think there's, I just think that there is an opportunity to just learn from it and just keep on going. I just think there's bigger things to fight over than that. And the speed that they make yarn with, it's so automated that something like this will sneak through. So yeah, so Wendy's talking about, so part of the moderation of YouTube, I found with myself, I can answer this directly, is that on YouTube here, you're not allowed to post links on my stuff. The reason for it, the amount of porn that that spammers were posting to our channel was insanity. It's like tons every day. So I put in the programming that here on Facebook, you cannot post a link, or sorry, on YouTube, you can't post a link. And because it's the only way to stop the porn. And it was awful, just one after another. So we have a significant list of things that are blocked on YouTube to protect the audience, and then there's people that will try to hit on the people. Hey, sweetie, nice to see you. So there are certain things of words like sweetie, and all of those are hey, honey, are the word honey, and all of those that are blocked from being able to be used. And they post it on Facebook, or sorry, YouTube here to get your attention, and people don't even realize that they're about to walk into a trap. So, and you don't know what people's intentions are. So it's something that we do to protect people to do it. So I just feel like it's part of our responsibility to, if I can see that there's going to be trouble, to kind of stop it. And it happens quite frequently, unfortunately. So I got it on one of my videos, and now so I don't necessarily, so you can program that inherited stitches, you can program it in your community settings to do that. So any kind of, so if somebody tries to post a link, it automatically just toss it in the garbage, their comment. And because most of the times it's literally the spammers trying to post the porn. There's some real people once in a while, but most of it's all porn. So I'm going to let you go. The dog wants in, and I hope you all have a great afternoon, and thank you for spending some time with me, and we hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.